Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. There's a lot that happened yesterday, and I didn't get to talk about it, but I am going to do this all in one video here, all on this Aloha Friday. This is to you, Snyder Cut fans. This is for you, Justice League Snyder Cut fans. No one else, unless you're interested. If you don't care about this stuff, you can leave now. And I know, don't forget to press the dislike button. You always do that. For anybody else who are still here with us, tinfoil hat edition for you, and anything else. It's all about the Snyder Cut because there was a lot of things that really came out. Most incredibly is that Zack Snyder has been really responding to posts lately. We know all the stuff that John Aaron and DC Films Hub has dug up. It's incredible stuff. We're all talking about it, and especially the concept art and stuff like that. And things you and I already know about Justice League, how that's not Zack's intention. Say for instance, this post someone asked about Zack Snyder. Hello, sir. Are those purple crystal roots things part of your plan? I don't see it from the trailer due to unfinished CGI, or it's not your idea at all, or is it supposed to appear as alien movie like Roots, like the concept art's shown? And Zack Snyder responds, yeah, I don't know what that root stuff is. Kind of very similar to What Russian Family, right? So we kind of knew. We were watching it like, what is that tunneling bad CGI thing? Kind of looks like that thing from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you know? It's like, it's kind of meta in a way. It's like it's actually Marvel coming in, growing roots into the DC universe. If you want to, playfully think about it like that. But yeah, okay, so it's not, Zack Snyder did not do that root stuff. Probably the look, the final reddish look was not his intention as well. We kind of knew that. But it's kind of cool to say, we told you so. Yeah, it's kind of cool to say, we knew that. And now it's confirmed because Zack confirmed it. It's nothing bad. So he has posted Throwback Thursdays. Almost every Throwback Thursday he posts something. He posts something about behind the scenes of Bruce Wayne's car that he used in Justice League. So he's still, posting stuff about Justice League for the people who are like, he doesn't want to even be reminded of Justice League anymore. Okay, but he's posting it himself. We're not doing anything. He's like Throwback Thursday of movie projects that he's done before. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is still thinking about Justice League. I don't know. But other things, in fact, he has responded to a post who wants to know about that picture, okay, about that concept art picture of who that's supposed to be. This one right here. Remember this one? I talked about this at length. And the question was this young Steppenwolf or Darkseid? And Zack Snyder responded. He says it's Uxas. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. Uxas? Uxas? I've been saying Uxas, and other people says Uxas. But recently I've heard Uxas, so I don't know. But anyway, that's his real name. The name that is most commonly we all know of is Darkseid, and yes, that's Darkseid. So it's supposed to have been a young Darkseid in that, and makes you kind of think. And other people have said this. What Dave Pino has also said as well. What if this whole time it was a young Darkseid? They re-edited a little bit to make it look like Steppenwolf. What if it was young Darkseid to begin with? In fact, the whole history lesson scene was actually Darkseid doing all that. And it makes sense because of the mural that Wonder Woman comes in, Princess Diana, who comes into that temple and sees all the murals around them, the one that John Aaron had dug up. And you see right there, it's Darkseid right there with that weapon. And we know that that looks just like that concept art we saw. And Zack Snyder confirms it, that it is Darkseid, something darker. Darkseid. So wow, we could have got, until it wasn't, Darkseid in Justice League, and that would have been so pretty awesome. Whether or not he would have been prominent more in that with Steppenwolf, or it was more of a kind of a tease to as a future appearance in a battle in somewhere. So we don't know about that, but looking at it and judging from that we got Steppenwolf and BVS, maybe we were supposed to get Steppenwolf and Darkseid in Justice League. I don't know. Your mind just goes like, whoa, this movie should have been more. God, should have been more. But it didn't until it wasn't. So that's what happened with that. And interestingly enough, also that happened is, and this is kind of old. I mean, this was from September, but it was at a fan event, and they were able to ask Ray Fisher a lot of questions. And when it came down to the Snyder Cut, and I'm going to post that link to that video edited together, and you can also watch Film Gob's edited version if you want to just get straight to the point, of where Ray Fisher talks about Cyborg, how Cyborg's supposed to be a really powerful metahuman. There was a lot more. There was supposed to be in sequels and stuff like that, and but the one we hear is interesting, where he says that it's not whether or not the Snyder Cut exists, it's when are we going to get to see it. In a way, he's confirming the Snyder Cut does exist. It's just when are we going to see it? When are we going to get it? And that is huge. And he also brings up that they shot enough for like 2 films. Justice League was shot. Zack Snyder shot enough for like 2 films and things like that, and that is big. I mean, that is big, guys. I mean, I'm just for a lot of people, we knew that. We heard it before, where Jason Momoa and even Ray Fisher himself have talked about that. But this is big because it's on video. You know, it's on video. They can't just say, "Oh, the fan heard it wrong," or they're BSing. I almost swore, BSing there, and it's not real. Ray Fisher didn't really say that. Where's your proof? Well, the proof is right here. He totally says it. He tells us exactly what Jay Oliva has been telling us for a while now. And people, and it's funny, it didn't gain too much traction. Bloggers are not really talking about this. It's weird. They're totally dismissing of that, including the mural thing. Only some like DC Films Hub, Screen Rant, maybe even comicbook.com, who knows. And it's interesting, someone shared with me that comicbook.com, the editor-in-chief, I think, who sent me that? Editor-in-chief actually was Brad Curran. Thanks for this. He sent me this. I think it's a tweet from the editor-in-chief of comicbook.com, who wants to be put on that list of wanting to see the full, the Justice League Snyder Cut. And so I thought that was kind of cool that there are more people are jumping on this wagon, if you will, with tinfoil hat, and it's not even tinfoil anymore, because Ray Fisher has on video. We have a record of him saying this, and that is superb. That is incredible. For people who are like, "What? That's not new." Yeah, it's not new to us within the inner circle, but we've never had proof. Visual audio proof until now, and it's kind of like that whole thing is like, I saw a ghost. Well, do you have proof? Do you have audio? Do you have visual proof? Oh yeah, here we go. This is the same thing. I saw that guy kill that guy, or that guy vandalized. You have proof of that, and we all know that guy did it, but we didn't have proof until someone takes a video from their phone or something. This is the the physical element that's been missing from all these different reports and people saying, fans who've asked Jason or Ray Fisher personally. So this is actually an incredible footage here to have of Ray Fisher himself saying it. And that is fantastic. And so it's great to see that he's still rooting for the Snyder Cut. He still wants everybody to keep asking for it, and that is awesome. And Jason Momoa also wants people to keep asking for it. We don't have right now visual or audio confirmation from him, but we pretty much know he did say that. But it's not as no evidence as much as Ray Fisher's one. And it's interesting because even Revenge of the Fans, Mario Robles, he also said that Ben Affleck was really rooting for Zack Snyder, and he's so disenfranchised with being Batman now because of what the studio did to Zack Snyder. But because Zack Snyder really, he's a nice guy. You can see he's really fighting, but he's really holding back. He's not like some directors who would just, talk back out or at the people who don't like his movies and stuff. He's very reserved, and he's very patient and things like that until the loss of his daughter. But it's great to hear that Ben Affleck was really rooting for him, because you always wonder, it's like you hear about Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher and Ezra Miller, but not too much from Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, and Ben Affleck, because I think they're a lot more within the game of being actors, professional actors, and they have a lot of gigs and things like that. But for these new up and comers like Ezra Miller and Jason and Ray Fisher, they're not really up and comers. They've done some stuff, but they're more appreciative to Zack Snyder, and they're really openly saying this stuff. So it's kind of cool to hear that Ben Affleck is also felt the same way in order to protect, in a way, trying to protect Zack Snyder. Although he probably didn't have as much as a power and pull as Christopher Nolan. And man, what would have been. It would have been great when Christopher Nolan just stayed protecting Zack Snyder through and through, all the way out to Justice League Part 1, Part 2. Wow, that would have been quite something. But, unfortunately, that's not what happened. But although there is hopefully we get a Snyder Cut. I mean, hopefully something comes out of that. And it's great to see these voices being heard, Zack Snyder's coming out and saying this stuff. And I just, when you look at his Vero post, and per se, tinfoil hat, of course, he's been posting all those, the movie challenge stuff. But once in a while, he posts something interesting, like that Batmobile car. And then one, he did this the day that Ray Fisher, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. Ray Fisher came out. I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "Listening to Birds Set Free" by Sia. And you listen to the lyrics, and it's about having no voice and finally having a voice. You're set free. You're finally able to say some stuff. And I'm wondering, because he's been saying or answering questions about the Justice League, has the NDA partially been resolved, like the non-disclosure no longer, but it can't be that much, or else he would be like saying a lot of stuff. So it's interesting that he said, or if he could just be really listening to that song. It's just, oh yeah, coincidentally, the lyrics to that just the same day, Ray Fisher and all this stuff about Zack Snyder stuff. Who knows? Who knows, right? And that's why we have the tinfoil hat, to protect us from being too logical. So that's why we wear them. But I like it. There's so much things coming out, and I hope there's more. There are a couple of things that makes me cause to concern, and if you go ahead, DC Films Hub, there is a podcast that John Aaron and Ben Everett had done, and he talks about this. And Dave also talked about this, how Warner Brothers is not going to release it because they don't have it. I mean, John Aaron says they don't have it, right? Or it says they can't release it. I've had an email source that had said this a while, the same around the time that I told you about how all the characters died, but in the original Justice League, but that Warner Brothers doesn't have it, and so I'm like, how can they not? Don't they own it? Like, right? And then remember my friend who talked about the VFX, Canadian VFX, who did the ending of Justice League, and he said that they were ordered to delete everything. Delete everything. So that caused concern because that means they don't have something to release. Or they're waiting for Zack Snyder to send them something. Or he has something, but it's his. But how can it be his if the characters are Warner Brothers and DC? It's all very confusing. So that's why I think there is more pull right now between us guys to have it hashtag leak the Snyder Cut. Or in terms of hashtag allow the Snyder Cut. Who knows? I mean, it is very interesting on how that works out, who owns this and whatever. But does Warner Brothers even know about a director's cut? And there were a lot of calls. They had that phone call campaign to Toby Emmerich, mainly to Toby Emmerich. I went a little further today. And I know, Chris at Vinolo 7 had also gone a little further too, I think. So I called Toby Emmerich office. I also called Kevin Sugiura's office and Walter Hamada's office. The PAs were good. The personal assistant was okay. They were nice. And I felt like they knew what this was about when I said I want to send a message, if you will, to let's say Toby Emmerich was my first one. And she was like, okay, what message can we, what is this, who are you, and what is this about? So, I mean, she wasn't mean like that. She was polite, very polite. And, like any gatekeepers, when you make a sales call, they're always polite. But, of course, unavailable in a meeting, that's your usual stance when you're trying to get to the person, right? So I just briefly introduced myself, although I didn't mention the Ping Pong Flick Show. But I mentioned I'm just a fan out here in Hawaii, and just let them know I would like to see the original version of Zack Snyder's Justice League that was before it was altered. And I approached it differently. I said that the studio could possibly make a little bit more money by releasing what would be so-called an alternate version of what we saw in the theaters, and if that's possible, to allow Zack Snyder, if he were to come up with a certain cut, to allow him to have it commercialized and release it out to the public. So I went around like that way, and she kind of like she said, I understand, but I think she was just affirming what others have said before, because I know I was not the first caller, and it felt like she knew what this was about. You know what I mean? She knew what this was about. But she left it at that. And then after that, I called again. And I said, I called early. I was wondering if I could ask Toby Emmerich a few questions. And she's like, so where are you from? And I don't think she remembered that I just called earlier. But I said, I'm Chris from Hawaii with Ping Pong Flick Show. I was wondering if I could ask Toby Emmerich a few questions regarding this Snyder Cut. And then she just gave me the phone number to Candace, who is in publicity. She said, you have to call this person in publicity, which I did. Left the voicemail. Nobody picked up. Left the voicemail. But I know I'm not going to get a call back. I know, because that number, that person, the publicity, is probably reserved for people who actually not a nobody like me, but someone like the Hollywood Reporter or the Variety, for people like that, maybe Scoopers or something, they would go to that number. And whether they get a response or not, I have no idea. I've not got a call. I don't expect one. But I thought that was interesting, that if you can relay a message, but it seems like if I had a question, I will be relayed to publicity. Candace in publicity. So that was that. That was kind of fun. I do that a lot with my cold calls, with calling on customers, so it was no big deal for me. And it's, for me, when I try to get through to a customer, I know where they are in my line of business. I find the loading dock, I see trash cans, I know where they go, I know where the office is. I'm not in Burbank, California, and I doubt Toby Emmerich and Kevin Tsujihara or Walter Amato are going to be by the loading dock. So that's going to be not very easy to get right to them. But hopefully they get our word and at least perked an interest that there is a certain cut, so that if there is an opportunity to able to officially release that cut or allow the release of that cut, then hopefully they know that there is some interest to that, and possibly some profitable interest to that as well. But if that's not the case, then yeah, definitely hashtag leak the Snyder cut, or maybe it's somewhere out there in the darkest, deepest parts of Darkseid space, on planet Apocalypse of the internet somewhere. And hopefully we'll get to see it. But in the meantime, there's more stuff coming out. John Aaron's digging deep, man. He's researching. Stephen Colbert of Screen Rant also looking at this stuff with him. I'm so happy all these people are working together to find our common ground. The one goal that we all have, whether we want to continue with the DCEU or not continue with the DCEU, all these people who have come together, we've literally have gone through thick and thin through all this together. We may have separate minds and separate goals from here on out, but that one singular goal that pulls us together is that we all want to see the Snyder Cut. And hopefully one day that will come true. Alright, well, that is it for tonight. I want to thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I want you guys to have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.